boastful nature, as you also aren't now, which is why the humanity of Earth neither bends its knees before you now nor will it bend its knees before you later, like it also didn't at former and long past times. But just as you, in your missions as a true prophet of the earth, human beings have already previously erected a truthful and new thought structure for them, which they have, however, forgotten or falsified, so also do you now set up such again. Truly, it is exactly the same thought structure as always, it's just that it has fallen into oblivion for the earth human beings and, consequently, looks new to them. At the time of your next return as another personality, you will develop this thought structure even further, after which already then, many years will have had their effect and your teaching will have paved the ways for spirit-directed progress. In particular, it is very important with this that the religious believers learn your teaching, for they are the main earth human beings who live in the greatest confusion and fallaciousness. You know that right at the time of your present life, all earthly religions are in a profoundly critical and crisis-ridden situation, which was already to be foreseen thousands of years ago, that it would be like this at this time, which is, indeed, why you had to step into appearance again exactly at this time. This is so, because at this bitter time of crisis and destruction, the best time is given for the undermining of all cultic religions and sects. In this sense, you do, indeed, also work, and indeed, very much better than we expected. You don't create any union among all the cultic religions and sects, but rather an undermining, a rift, as well as decay, strife, and destruction, and to be sure, without you attacking them. In particular, you achieve this because you don't largely step among the national masses but somehow remain hidden and fire out your enlightening arrows from the background. Thus, you don't meet the large organizations of the cultic religions and sects directly, rather, you meet the single individual, who then brings the strife against the untruthfulness that has developed in him into these organizations, spreads it there and, at the same time, begins to destroy and undermine these and to bring these into decay, discord, and downfall. And exactly up to the year 2075, it will have prospered so far in this respect, in accordance with our calculations of the 100-year-long effective time, that your teaching can fully come into effect. You yourself will not appear now or in the future as a rewarder for the cult religious believers and also not as a condemner or executor of judgment for all those who have lived and acted in the wrong. Again, as always, you are and will be an announcer of truth, a revolutionary against the cruel untruth, a very strong man, like now, who, also at the further coming time, will allow a renewed religious drama to be stirred up and to break loose through truth enlightenment, and you will also allow certain old, traditional rules to play along in this. These, my dear friend, are the facts to be mentioned, but which, for certain reasons, you must still conceal from the public until the month of March, 1980. Billy says thanks. That was very detailed. Actually, I'm glad about all these coming events, for somehow, I just feel magnificently pepped up when I can firmly fight against the untruth. Semyaza says you are a fighter without an equal, not only now but already since time immemorial. That had already arisen in such a way at primeval times, which is why you were found by us for this mission and asked if you would like to bear it. Billy says as a Iran import, I probably had no other option on this planet, right? Semyaza says sure, but the decision was made by you yourself and with the knowledge of the fact that you would have to lead a very hard fight against the untruth over many thousands of years across a wide variety of personalities. What made this even more aggravating was that you knew that this would have to affect you very badly because due to your difficult mission over the entire time, a very great loneliness would befall you, which won't be removed again until the year 3999, when you leave the earth again at that time. Billy says as an old Liran, I very often feel, on the earth anyway, out of place and damn foreign. I really must tell you that once, although I don't want to complain. But anyhow, I have, indeed, become an earth human being. For my barbarian life here among all the barbarians, I also find this not so very bad. It could, however, really be different in many ways and somewhat better. But on the whole, I am quite content as an auxiliary earth human being. Certainly, the loneliness nearly overwhelms me sometimes, especially when I would like to talk about certain things and then just no one is there who can understand my thoughts, but I get over it again in each case. Semyaza says that is well known to me. It would even be of necessity that you would be given more love. Billy says, oh, only unpleasant things could arise from that. Because of that, I'd rather close myself off. Oh yes, it would be very nice if everything in this relation could be different or simply somewhat better, but you yourself know that this cannot be done, unfortunately. The difference in evolution is just too great. Moreover, all those who sincerely hold me in love strive very much for me, and this often helps me through unpleasant and difficult hours. The laws of the earth human beings are very complicated and illogical, which is primarily what makes many things aggravating or just simply impossible. Semyaza says, I, too, apparently haven't devoted enough attention to you during all this time. I recognize that clearly and plainly from your words. Even though you already changed over from the Lyra region to the earth at a very early time, I have always disregarded this and have always seen you as an earth human being. Billy says that's what I am now, too, and I have also behaved myself towards you like that. Only sometimes, also this self-deception doesn't help me. Semyaza says sure, I can understand that very well. But from now on, I will try to see you again as that which you truly are. I am sorry, but due to your rigorous effort to present yourself as a genuine earth human being, you have also directed my thoughts in this direction. Thus, I saw you as an earth human being. Billy says somehow I am, indeed, also such an earth twit. For the devil knows how long I've already clambered around on this world after I came to this planet. Since then, I have lived so many lives here as the most varied personalities that I am no longer able to count them. I have an earthly physical body with a spirit from the depths of the universe, as I already said once 8,500 years ago as another personality. This earthly body, however, binds me to this planet and is connected with it from its dust, so to speak, which is why I also have a feeling in me that I somehow belong here. At the same time, I just ask myself how will I, with such a body, one day go back to my actual home? Semyaza says it will no longer be an earthly one, for at the established point in time, parents for you will come to the earth, who will procreate your new personality on this world and will give birth to this with your spirit form on your original home world, after your spirit form will have taken possession of its descendant in the mother's womb. Billy says then I am, indeed, calmed. Does this also happen, then, with all the others, who are still roaming around here on the earth? Semyaza says certainly, it will be likewise with them. Billy says that's really comforting to know. But tell me, are there also those in our group, who do not come from this planet originally? Semyaza says sure, many, but I wouldn't like to mention the names to you now openly. If you want to ask me about that again in June or July of 1980? Billy says gladly. Semyaza says up to then, many new things will, indeed, happen, which will also bring you joy and relief. Billy says I know. I just ask myself, whether it might not still go awry, that I should take over a task in a father's stead. Semyaza says now, you said too much. You shouldn't talk about that openly yet. Billy says I won't give this contact report page out until the middle of March, 1980. Semyaza says of course, I didn't think of that at the moment. Then we can continue to speak of it calmly, if you hold back this information. Billy says good, I still have the question concerning this, what if everything goes awry and the calculations don't fulfill themselves? Semyaza says the probability speaks for the fulfillment of the determination. Billy says well, but what if it is suddenly claimed that I am, despite everything, the biological father of the child? Semyaza says you know who the biological father will be, but it's not you in any case, even though many would gladly like to see that. Just with regard to your wife, it wouldn't be allowed to be so that you could be the biological father. She is, in her development, still not so far along that such a step might be done. She would neither understand nor accept this, not in her present life, unless she could make a large leap in evolution, which isn't to be expected with her, however, because she is often inclined to failure and unpredictable jealousy. Billy says that won't be of much use, for I know her damn well. Once it has come so far, she, too, will have her thoughts to express, like also many others. Like others, she will be of the view that I'm lying to her and that I am truly the procreator and, therefore, also the true father. Semyaza says that would be absurd, for you are capable of no such untruth, and moreover, you know that the descendant will be procreated by another man, if the other fertilization and procreation possibility cannot be taken into consideration. But we will talk about these things again at a later time. Billy says, but that is still of no use to me. I can already imagine the drama now, which will let loose around me. Just on the part of my cannibal alone. Semyaza says it is to be hoped that in this regard, she will have become of another sense by then and will grasp your words and explanations as truth. Billy says there, you know her poorly, however. She will think that I am lying and, thus, that I am the biological father. Semyaza says that may not be true, for you will actually not be the biological father but will only take over the father's role after the birth of the descendant. Billy says you just don't understand this. Many women of Earth are just not so far along as you all, who give your husbands faith when they tell you all something. Semyaza says we don't know such untruths anymore. Billy says of course not, otherwise, you could also understand my damn problem. When an Earth woman has something placed in her head, she doesn't let go of it so quickly. And that my Agapula will hammer the crazy idea into her head, that I would have fathered the child myself, I know this in advance. At the same time, I know it too well. Semyaza says but that is, indeed, absolutely illogical. If you explain the truth to her, then she has to accept this, nevertheless. Billy says one should be able to have such dreams, as you preserve and maintain them. Semyaza says it is, after all, only the truth and reality. Billy says for you, yes, but not for Earth twits. But you don't understand that, unfortunately. Let's just leave it at that. Semyaza says it is, perhaps, also better, for up to then, some time will still pass, and during this, certainly very much will still change. Billy says I also don't deny that, but in this respect, you may not give yourself any hopes. Moreover, I don't think, despite my hopes, that my wife will change, because more and more, I suspect that she is only acting and is leading all of you, me and all the others around by the nose, which the future will surely prove, as well as her betrayal together with the brothers K and H and various other members, who, according to your statements, will soon have to be excluded from the group or who will jump out themselves in a slanderous manner. Semyaza says we'll see then. Billy says and I already see it now. Semyaza says you see everything too confusedly and too darkly, at least in regard of your wife. Billy says I could hardly see these things more clearly. Take that from me calmly. Semyaza says do you really mean that? Billy says but of course. As I say it, so will it be. Semyaza says that would be very indelicate towards you and your honesty as well as towards us and all group members. Billy says indelicate? That is a fine word, really. Truly, this indelicacy will be quite damn crude and illogical, as well as mangy, treacherous, and libelous. Semyaza says let's let time work, nevertheless. Billy says that is probably the most sensible thing. Let's talk about it again in the next year and the year after the next, if it should be necessary. Semyaza says sure, let's wait for what is coming. Billy says certainly. But what will the date actually be, then? Semyaza says are you thinking of the birth? Billy says right. Semyaza says I wouldn't like to announce that to you because at the given time, you will try to calculate the exact date anyway. But unfortunately, the circumstances of the failure of the responsible physicians won't allow your calculations to turn out correctly. Billy says does that mean that there will be difficulties? Semyaza says that is, unfortunately, inevitable, because the bearing organs of the mother, according to our cognitions, aren't functioning in the form that is necessary for the birth to be able to take place normally through these. Billy says even that, too. As if I already hadn't had enough with the 3 cesarean sections of my cannibal. Your words do mean that, right? Semyaza says sure, but there is no reason for you to be concerned, for when the time comes, other than a delayed birth, no major difficulties will appear. Billy says but after that, what then? Semyaza says I don't know, because so far, I have only tried to determine the time and form of the birth. This will, however, be about 1.5 days expected. You don't create any union among all the cultic religions and sects, but rather an undermining, a rift, as well as decay, strife, and destruction, and to be sure, without you are attacking them. In particular, you achieve this because you don't largely step among the national masses but somehow remain hidden and fire out your enlightening arrows from the background. Thus, you don't meet, so also do you now set up such again. Truly, it is exactly the same thought structure as always, it's just that it has fallen into oblivion for the earth human beings and, consequently, looks new to them. At the time of your next return as another personality, you will develop this thought structure even further, after which already then, many years will have had their effect and you foreseen thousands of years ago, that it would be like this at this time, which is, indeed, why you had to step into appearance again exactly at this time. This is so, because at this bitter time of crisis and destruction, the best time is given for the undermining of all cultic religions and sects. In this sense, you do, indeed, also work, and indeed, very much better than we boastful nature, as you also aren't now, which is why the humanity of earth neither bends its knees before you now nor will it bend its knees before you later, like it also didn't at former and long past times. But just as you, in your missions as a true prophet of the earth human beings, have already previously erected a truthful and new thought structure for them, which they have, however, forgotten or falsified teaching will have paved the ways for spirit-directed progress. In particular, it is very important with this that the religious believers learn your teaching, for they are the main earth human beings who live in the greatest confusion and fallaciousness. You know that right at the time of your present life, all earthly religions are in a profoundly critical and crisis-ridden situation, which was already to be